Kia ora. Palm Sunday. One of those Bible stories that God made up to make a message. Not so much about donkeys and humble messiahs. More about don't presume. Don't presume that hope comes dressed in the robes and roles of power, military, political, or even religious. Don't presume that those so adorned in might make it all right. Hope might come dressed in parody, with heels almost dragging on the ground, and the crowds with palm branches and cloaks spreading might be cheering him on, praying he is the one, because the ones before him haven't delivered. So why not take a risk on a dragster? For hope could come from somewhere and someone unexpected, like an itinerant, illiterate Galilean, like a liberator who loved his enemies, like a crucified failure savior. So don't presume that power is where it's at, that hope might not wash up as weak. Don't presume the cross means all is lost. This is the message of the Jesus community, then and still. Hope. William Balch tells the story of a man coming home from work dejected. It had been a hard week like the one before and the one before that. Some work not only taxes the mind and body, but also saps the soul. His soul was tired, wrung out. He sat down on the window seat in the lounge. The man's wife had recently made a new covering for that window seat, a thick corduroy. She had, like with many things, given it her full attention, spending hours sewing the seams carefully and embroidering it with small flowers. The man took out his pipe, which dates the story, tamped and lit it, breathing in and exhaling the smoke, trying to find an elusive peace, lost in the sorrow of his soul. A cinder accidentally fell from the pipe, and to his shame burnt a wee hole before he could render it harmless. Then the man's wife, without words, worry, fuss, or reprove, took out her sewing kit and, as he sat there, darned the hole, making with the thread a bright new flower. Balch says that action opened a crack of light for the man. He saw not only the love and solidarity she was offering him, but saw the wee flower as a symbol of hope. Hope that there are beautiful flowers in life and those who sow them. Hope that there are actions that heal the burns, the scars. Hope that things could be different. And hope, like it often does, came wrapped in someone who believed in him, gifting him belief in himself. Hope is the power that keeps us believing. It's the light of our best dreams. It says to the darkness of despair, you're only transitory. Tomorrow will be different. It tells experience, the hurts we've received and reciprocated, that it's not the only truth. It declares that there is truth in aspirations, never realized, in love, never known, and forgiveness, never felt. Hope bravely waits. There's a Jesus story told of a fellow who gets beaten up on a country road. He's robbed, left for dead. He will probably soon succumb to blood loss, and then nature's scavengers will move in. Hope is leaking out of him. Someone comes by, a busy guy in a hurry. Maybe he's afraid the robbers are still about and will get him too. Maybe it's the deadlines. Who knows? Compassion takes time, and he's on the clock. Another guy comes by too, same thing. It's like a second helicopter passing overhead when you're lost in the bush, and it keeps going. The feeling is not good. Then this Samaritan, hey, we know the story, comes by and stops. To a Jew, a Samaritan was something like what we Christians today think of Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses. They're foreign, probably American. You don't trust them. They believe funny things. Well, the funny thing is that it's the Samaritan who is the harbinger of hope to the ditched man. She cares for him, tends his wounds, takes him to a hotel and pays for his continuing care. This is a big story. One that if we followers of Jesus will let it, can shape and reshape our faith, theology, and praxis. We can notice, for example, that we, the audience, are the man in the ditch. We need saving, not the Samaritan. We need the Samaritan. We can notice, for example, the Samaritan doesn't try to convert us or promote her brand of religion. We can notice also, for example, that the story doesn't have God in it. Well, not by name. No one mentions God. God is the actions that bring hope. And the overarching message, like today's donkey tale, is don't presume. Don't presume that truth, beliefs, facts are more important than stopping and being kind. Don't presume that God's love has borders, that God thinks like we do, and that has prejudices that match ours. Don't presume because you've been ditched by life that hope is gone. The unexpected might happen. She might come. Yet we know that hope can be a fickle thing, flowering one day and withering the next. When you're born towards the bottom in society, beaten down when you try to rise, and blamed for it and everything, then it's hard to blossom. Indeed, most don't. If there is a bloom, the frost of poverty quickly tries to kill it. Once I lived in a neighborhood which had lots of unemployment, violence, malnutrition, and child abuse. If it was bad, it was there. I wasn't born there. I was born in a world away, about half an hour's drive down the motorway, where children didn't seem to live with fear, and I never heard any violent screams at night. But as a 23-year-old, I was invited to live in this other world. It was actually a great privilege. 3 of us lived in a neighborhood house, running holiday programs, food co-ops, and the like. We were there to help and to learn. Some of our neighbors undertook to educate us, Samaritans to our need. The question of hope, how it's nourished and tended, is very real. A change in government policy decreasing financial benefits to those in poverty, was akin to aerial spraying with a noxious chemical, knocking back and killing any new shoot. In the scrawl of a parliamentary pen, bus money, second-hand clothes and birthdays could disappear. Only food banks, hired purchase operators and pawnbrokers thrived. Was hope even possible in these circumstances? There is something amazing about the human spirit, how it would look for and hold on to hope in the bleakest of times. A friend calls it physis. That's something in plants that make a plant seek the light. And time and again I saw glimpses of hope in my new neighborhood, often flowering one day and dying the next. Sometimes they lasted longer. I remember, for example, when Ruby was given a car. It was a gift from an aunt. When I say car, I should qualify that. It was what my father would have called a bomb. It was a warrantless wreck, but it could go, just. Ruby had 6 children and a husband. He left home before light and returned around 5. Ruby left home a couple of hours later and returned after midnight. 6 days of the week. Ruby cleaned the floors and toilets of a private hospital and walked there and back. That wreck of a car gave her 45 minutes more sleep each night and 45 minutes more with her family. It enabled her to go shopping without herding her offspring towards the bus stop and struggling home afterwards with the groceries. Slowly and surely, that wreck made a difference in her life. Hope grew, and for a while, Ruby had a bit of a sparkle. I never heard what happened eventually to that wreck, nor for that matter what happened to Ruby. Recently, however, I was told that her kids had done quite well. I also remember back in that neighborhood Ray, a young man who died on the street. There's nothing like a knife in the chest to pierce a mother's heart or to slice open a community. The murderer, Billy, lived a few doors down. For the next year, we would walk with the families of these boys through the heartache of a funeral and the gauntlet of a court case. I have 2 strong memories. The first happened the following afternoon. Billy's mum, Sue, came to see Ray's mum, Shelley. These women had known each other for years. They weren't best friends, but they weren't enemies either. Sue trepidly knocked on the door, and Shelley trepidly opened it. They fell weeping into each other's arms. Those tears watered hope. In the months to come, though, the judicial process would test the power of that forgiveness. The other strong memory is Billy's middle-class girlfriend and her Baptist church. They believed in Billy, surrounding him with a wrap of hope, giving him their Jesus. They visited him in prison and assisted him years later upon release. We can skeptically wonder how long the bromance of Jesus and Billy lasted. In that neighborhood, quick fix Jesus usually snapped when pressure was applied. What would happen if his girlfriend left or his anger rose again? Can hope grow and overcome its enfeebled roots? I don't know. Do any of us know how the little we do might be of some help in the future? Not being of the Baptist hue, I'd like to acknowledge the courage of that church in nurturing Billy. Whatever their motivation, sometimes religions, churches, community organizations, individuals that I have misgivings about are the means of hope. Hope's not limited to my preferences or prejudices. It doesn't keep to any rules. In both these stories, hope was found. Ruby and Billy found hope, and it came wrapped in the miracle of having someone believe in you. For Ruby, it was her aunt. For Billy, it was his girlfriend and her church. Having someone believe in you can make a world of difference. In the story by Bosch, it was the man's wife who believed in him, absorbed his despair, and offered an embroidered flower. In the Jesus story, it was the Samaritan. It seems to me that hope can be many things, little things and big things, expected and unexpected. It can be sung about and dreamed for. And for many, hope comes in the miracle of having someone believe in you. To wordlessly stitch a solution to a cinder you've dropped. To give you an old bomb car. Or to visit you in prison. To tend your wounds. To give you their belief so you can grow your own. So don't presume. Don't presume that all hope is lost. Blessings.